All right, so welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Question came up earlier, and actually has to do with Jewish communities, right? Some Jewish communities, we would say, are better than others. Some stronger, some have, let's say, more going on, less going on, right? So I guess I would address. I mean, do have videos on this, but so it's going to repeat good things that what makes something a good community, especially for, let's say, someone who wants to convert. So a lot of people, let's say, stuck in the middle of nowhere. So basically the only thing they have around them is Chabad. And most people know I have nothing really against Chabad, except yeah. So hopefully you can hear me better. Sorry, a question came up that someone had asked about a Jewish community and why I might consider certain community not necessarily a good enough community, or why they don't do conversions there, let's say, right? So basically, I was saying that sometimes people be in a community, and there's only Chabad. Now Chabad, if there was only Chabad there, and they do a lot of Jewish outreach. They don't certainly don't convert people. I think in the last 16 years I've been doing this, I heard of one rabbinical court set up by Chabad that actually converted someone. So they don't necessarily do conversion, but what they do, they're more open, more friendly, I think, than most Jewish communities. But even so, if there's only Chabad around, there's nobody else, then the issue will be that if they go out of business, then the person's in trouble, right? For conversion. Now, they happen to be some of the greatest fundraisers in the world, so very hard to imagine they're going to go out of business. But they want to make sure, rabbinical courts want to make sure there are other communities. There are other Orthodox communities, and if a person has kids, right? Obviously, they have to educate their kids, right? So one thing, and even for Noahides, it's pretty important, I would say also, is to be within striking distance of an Orthodox synagogue. Doesn't mean you have to live right next door, right? But I would say, within, I don't know, half an hour, something like that, maybe a few hours. But they have an opportunity to be relatively close to an Orthodox synagogue. Now, that being said, would a non-Jew who's not going to convert have to move to a Jewish community, just pick up and go? No, right? Certainly not. Unfortunately, most Noahide communities are online, right? They're not, a lot of people spread out all over. So since a lot of people spread out, it makes it kind of for a lonely life in general, because, someone once told me, the closest Noahide to them was like, 350 miles, or more, right? You do the math in kilometers, right? For those who think in those terms. So the idea is that, person would say, I want to, go out to coffee with someone, have, not just speak to them on the phone or whatever. But the problem is there aren't, too many Noahide communities in the world. But anyway, that's not really the point. Point is that if a person has kids, then the community they live in has to have a school for them. Or You have to be within a community, a bigger community that you can send, to a school. So in either case, you got to be within walking distance of an Orthodox synagogue, that's for sure. And at some point, even if someone's not, but that is going to have to be the end game, right? And I've heard people say, well, I haven't, it doesn't say where, anywhere in the Torah, anywhere in the Talmud, you got to live within walking distance of an Orthodox synagogue. But if you don't live amongst Jews, how are you going to know what it means to be a Jew? So it could be 400 years ago, a person could understand Torah or whatever by osmosis, right? Not necessarily, being taught. You could learn it from Jews, but that's certainly not the case today, right? But in either case, a proper Jewish community is something that's crucial. Now, a person may say, well, if they have kosher food, is that good enough? Right? If they have a kosher restaurant, is that good enough? So again, if I'll say the main criteria is if there's one synagogue, forget being Chabad, let's say it's not Chabad, even if it's, a young Israel or whatever, right? It's an Orthodox synagogue, let's say. There's one synagogue. What's the problem? What would a rabbinical court probably tell you? You have to move, right? You have to go somewhere else because it's too small. Now, even let's say there's one synagogue in the area you live, right, or nearby, but you're part of a bigger community. Okay, you're within an hour, maybe a few hours. Let's say, I'd say within an hour is probably better, right? Within striking distance of a bigger community. Now, a rabbinical court could tell you that that's good enough because you have all the amenities, even though you're an hour away. Now, on the other hand, a rabbinical court could tell you not that way. A rabbinical court could say, the fact is you live too far, right? You live too far. And if you live too far, doesn't help, right? You have to move. You have to move. So that will depend on the rabbinical court. And I would say before a person decides to move, before they decide to move, they just speak to the rabbinical court and say, is this community, acceptable, so to speak. Otherwise, no point to move more than once, right? If you don't have to. So one thing that's going to be important is the size of the community. Another thing that's going to be important is, does it have schools? Does it have the amenities that would be needed if you had kids to educate? Now, some people, let's say they don't have kids or older or whatever, let's say that's not necessarily a factor, right? So rabbinical court may look at that differently. As someone converted a number of years ago, they live within walking distance of an Orthodox synagogue, but again, it was Chabad, and most of the synagogues there were Chabad. I told them the rabbinical court's probably going to make them move, anyway, but that wasn't the case. But they moved anyway. They ended up moving anyway. So if a person has kids, that's going to be crucial, right? A school is going to be, in that area is going to be crucial. That's one thing, right? That's probably one of the most important factors. The other factors would be, can a person get kosher food? How far, how long does it take to get kosher food? Or whatever. So some people, let's say, live in the middle of nowhere. Okay. So it's not a factor necessarily that a rabbinical court is going to say have to move, right? You say, well, we'll drive 4 hours and, every couple of months we'll just stock up on food. You can do that, or stock up on meat or other things. You can do that. You get stuff online, right? That's not necessarily a mitigating factor where someone is, going to be turned away from a rabbinical court saying, you have to move, right? So bottom line is you have to have, there should be a number of synagogues, in the area. If not, then I would say that you have to be within striking distance of another area, right? Of another Orthodox community, right? Again, I would say within an hour, maybe hour and a half, 2 hours maximum. right? You should be in striking distance. So if there are enough Orthodox synagogues there, so that shouldn't be, that shouldn't be an issue. But again, if it's not an issue of schooling, or something like that, then even if there's one synagogue there, a rabbinical court may say, you don't have to move. They may suggest it. They may definitely suggest it, but they won't say that it's going to stop the conversion. Now, there are other places, so that's what I would say, general rule. Now, there are other places that, let's say are in the middle of nowhere, literally in the middle of nowhere. And there are issues. There are issues there with the community itself. It's a very small community. People there converting, gave the Jewish community all kinds of problems. They don't necessarily fit in as being, Orthodox Jews for different reasons because of just, just their, type or nationality. Sometimes can happen. I'm not saying a person can't overcome it. That can also be very much, very much an issue. And there could be a lot of instability. Instability meaning that, they don't have too many rabbis there. Yeah, so they don't want to get involved in the whole thing. And maybe bringing out a rabbinical court and this and that, it's complex, right? If people don't necessarily fit in, or the mentality, let's say, doesn't necessarily fit in, that's a problem. It's not, we're not picking on anyone in general, but sometimes, the way, society, the way it is, and how a person's brought up in society and whatever, makes it harder. Makes it harder. But if a person in a community, in a far-flung community, really, literally, like in the middle of nowhere, and rabbis come and go and this and that, there's no stability, right? It's another problem, right? There's really no stability. So if there is no stability, the no rabbinical court is going to go out there and convert people, right? There's no interest out there to convert them. Why? Because again, the community itself, it exists, right? We're not going to say the community doesn't exist. Community definitely exists, right? But again, it's a hodgepodge. People come, people go, different things. So to convert people, well, there's no point. There's really no point because the community is just not stable. And the Jewish community could be there for years, right? It could be, it could be an island community, let's say, and people don't come too much, or the community's been the same, whatever it's been for, for years and years. So they don't have, so much stability there. So why would a rabbinical court want to come out and convert people? You have rabbis there, other things going on there. The community's flourishing over the years and it's growing. And you didn't necessarily have problems from people, this and that. Okay, right? That might be a different issue, right? But if it's always in flux, rabbis come and go, rabbinical courts don't go there, and people are problematic in other ways, then, they're not going to do conversion, right? And you have a lot of, far-flung communities that, are problematic for that reason. So you also have the issue that there are communities that won't do conversion. What if you're in a place, where you get contacted from a lot of people in South America? Now, South America, if a person converted outside the country, wherever they live, and they come back, if it's a proper conversion, they'll accept them. But the people inside the community won't do conversion, right? Then they don't want the aggravation. Converts giving the Jewish people a bad name, throughout the millennium. And they just don't want the aggravation, so they don't do conversion, right? South America's like that. Mexico's like that in many ways, right? You have other places, as well, that, people in, can't convert, let's say in Singapore, if someone's in Singapore, or China wouldn't do conversions, places in that part of the world. So that person has to move. You have no choice, right? You have no choice. A few Jews there. Community's tiny. they're not looking to import. They're not looking even from people around. It's too problematic, right? So people, you can have people in Europe. There are certain places in Europe that also, they won't do conversions. They won't do conversions, or if they do, they make it like impossible because they've been burnt. And some places could be corrupt. Right? I'll throw that out there also. I'm not saying it's right. There are some places that are corrupt. They don't do things the way they should. So they make it impossible, just about impossible to convert. Because of the people in charge. Now, is that the person's fault who wants to convert? No, it's not their fault. What are they supposed to do? Right? There are, rabbinical courts know that's problematic there. Well, the problem is, let's say you have to go through the chief rabbi. Chief rabbi is, let's say, is corrupt in different ways. So everything goes through him. So but you can't go that route for, any number of reasons. So a person could appeal to a rabbinical court and say, listen, it's problematic, this and that, and probably the rabbinical court knows. Or they could just say, listen, you got to get recommended through them. You get recommended through them, we'll do the conversion. Again, I'm not necessarily saying it's right by any stretch. Same time, at the same time, as we always say, don't mix up Jews and Judaism. Just because a person might be a rabbi or whatever doesn't mean they always necessarily do the right thing. We should, but everyone's got an evil inclination, right? So so certain places, it's problematic or it doesn't exist. So is that a person's fault? Person said, well, I've done this, I've done that, I've done everything I can do. What more can I do? So you can say, the only other thing you do is probably get up and move. But you're going to say it's not fair. Why do I have to get up and move and this and that because of other things going on? You're right. But if that's the only choice you have, then either you'll do that or you won't convert. And in that case, God's not going to come out against the guy and say, oh, you could have converted, he did. Right? It's also a question, just keep in mind, it's a question of Mesiras Nefesh, question of self-sacrifice. How badly someone wants it. Someone really wants it that bad, and that's the case. They know it's problematic or whatever. They'll move. They'll find a way to move. Right? But some people can't. There are people, people in India get contacted a lot by people from India. They can't convert. They don't do conversion there, and none of them have money. Very few people have money. They can't go anywhere. So what are they supposed to do? Nothing to do. God's not going to say, oh, you could have converted, you did. And what are they supposed to do? Get contacted from people, let's say, in, I don't know, Guatemala. These other places, I'm not sure. Some of these people are real, some are, some aren't. But let's say they are the real deal. I would say they're the real deal. Okay, how are they supposed to get out of Dodge? One of the things the rabbinical court wants to see is a person self-sufficient. They want to see you're not going to convert because the Jewish community is going to help you. We got enough sponges in our own community. No offense. Got to deal with our own. We don't need other people coming in and say, oh, look, see, they helped us, they gave us money, they helped us with this, helped us with that. Then you get all kinds of people coming in that aren't real. Right? It's also an issue. Right? I totally offended someone. I can't imagine someone would imagine that, but right. Someone said, offended when I said that. And I'm like, listen, but I'm not saying you're doing it. Right? Oops, again. I'm not saying that, they were doing it per se, but at the end of the day, there are people that could come. Even if they have the right attitude, why should we have to support them? If they're already there or whatever, it's one thing. They have difficulties, so they should be helped. Right? I remember even before I got involved, converts, I was sitting my Rabbi in the rabbinical court in Jerusalem. Someone came in, dressed like a ultra-Orthodox Jew, and this person was around different places in Europe for years. Person never worked and went around collecting support himself. So anyway, they don't like some of the answers that he gave anyway. But the point is, like my Rabbi said, this person is going to be a burden to our community, right? Don't mean this explicitly, but this person is going to be a burden to our community. If he's going to be a burden to our community, let the non-Jews take care of him. Why do we have to take care of him? You're going to say, but let's say he's 100% serious, this and that. He's going to be a burden. Right? Now, again, if someone gets in the community, someone's able to move, whatever, down the line, they have difficulties, the Jewish community should help them. Right? 100%. And I would agree, not going to happen at the moment, right? And I know other people, have said the same thing, and that is there are a lot of serious people, that would love to move. That's probably the hardest thing for most people, right? Is that they would love to move, love to be part of a Jewish community. They're financially strapped, right? I know someone, very serious, very serious about conversion, and they were pretty much retirees, and their house wasn't worth enough to move, right? Even if they sold it to move to a Jewish community, it's expensive. Yeah, the closer you get to the synagogue, prices go up. Prices go up exponentially. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. So if that's true, like, what do you want? What are we supposed to do? That's what prices are. People got hit after 2008. Things haven't come back, fully, whatever. You move close to the Jewish community, it costs a lot. True. That is true. So, person's retired, they don't have any extra income coming in, right? Let's say, what are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? Is God going to have a claim against them because they didn't convert? No, they weren't able to. Not everyone gets to the finish line. But, I was going to say, there should be a fund to help people. But who's going to put money in? That's the problem, because people say, come on, there are enough Jews that need help. Plenty of Jews need help. There's no question about it. So plenty of Jews need hope. Why should we have non-Jews? We're going to look out for our own first. Now, a person may say that's selfish, and who says we're not true and this and that? That's not the issue. That's not the issue. I'm telling you what the reality is. Right? Wouldn't it wouldn't it be a good thing that there should be a fund, a significant amount of money for to help non-Jews? Why not? Should be. Well, a friend of mine also deals with converts and this and that. Let's see it. Let's see it. But it's a problem. It's a problem that I wouldn't say has a solution. I mean, there'll never be a solution, right? But if someone's real and that's the only issue, let's say that's the only issue. They need $5,000, $10,000 to move and to settle into, whatever. Let's say. But they are the real deal. Shouldn't they be helped? If people could help them, shouldn't they be helped? Sure. But if the choice over that or helping someone with, tuitions are in a Jewish school, and you're going to ask someone to help, who are they going to help first? That's the reality. Right? Well, we're second-class citizens, if a person's Jewish, they're Jewish. If they're not, we're going to look out for our own first. Right? Now, people can say that's selfish, this, that. That is, that's the reality. I'd love to see a fund out there that has, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to help non-Jews in this process. But again, there'd have to be a vetting process, serious vetting process. That people would, people needed help or whatever, because then anyone's going to want to come. So just use it as an excuse. Have to be vetted. But I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think it's a bad idea. The question is who's going to pay for it, right? That's always the $1 million question. Yeah, so that's what I would say. That's what I'd say about that. Somebody asks, okay, someone got a question. Someone's got a question. Are Muslims Noahide followers? Now, I would say they're closest to being Noahides, right? I would say because they believe in one God, and we definitely hold that Islam is monotheistic, meaning that they believe in one God. So, on that sense, not idolatry. So that's good. That's very good. So they're probably the closest to Noahides. I have heard some say that they are de facto Noahides. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true because all I have to do is find a law within the Noahide laws that they don't follow. Right? In other words, if there's a law that a non-Jew would be liable for, according to the Noahide laws, but according to Islam, they're not liable. Yeah, and that according to them, it's permissible. Very good. They wouldn't be a Noahide. So I would say the fact they believe in one God is very good, even though there are some that say that Islam is idolatry. There is, there are such opinions, but we don't hold that way. In general, we don't hold that way. So if that's true, then I would say they are closest to being Noahides. Yes. Would I say outrightly de facto they are Noahides? No. Why not? Because all you have to do, as we said, I'm not an expert in Islam by any stretch, but all you have to do is find, according to Islamic law, right? Bottom line, if Islamic law goes loggerheads, goes head to head against the Noahide laws. If you have one law that goes against the Noahide laws, they're not Noahide. So they're close. I would say they're closest out of any so-called religion, right? To be Noahides, most everything else is idolatry. But to say that the de facto Noahides, I wouldn't go that far. Now, I know some others may say that, but I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true because there's a lot of intricacy of the Noahide laws that most likely probably contradict Islam. I'm not going to say which ones and what. Again, I'm not an expert in Islam, but if someone would say there's that, gone through the laws, there's absolutely no contradiction between the two. Yeah, then that would be true. But I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second. There's not one contradiction. All you need to do is find one and knocks them up. But I would agree. It's better than other religions because, they don't believe in idolatry, right? It's not idolatry. Okay. But if you take other things, out of it, I mean, the Quran's a pretty horrific book, right? It's a pretty violent book. So, if they believe you're allowed to murder, anyone who doesn't believe like them, I'm not, some people say, no, that's not what it says. It's why people are radicalized, this and that. But let's say for argument's sake, that's the case. Let's say. Now, if that would be the case, what do the Noahide laws say? You can't kill. Not allowed to kill. Self-defense, different issue. But here, talking about killing for the sake of the fact you don't believe the way we do. That would go against the Noahide laws. Yeah. So anyone who's, radicalized Muslim, they're out. Now, what's the percentage? I don't know. Never did research. What's the percentage of people in Islam that are radicalized? More than quote unquote the rest of the populace? Can't answer. Right? Someone may say it's a very small percentage. Okay, maybe. Maybe that's the case. They're the ones making the most noise, but okay. Even if that was the case, those people would not be Noahides. For sure, would not be Noahides, even if they didn't kill. Because it goes for sure against Noahide laws. So, without even doing that much research, I don't think it would be that hard. I don't think it would be that hard to find discrepancies and to find contradictions. And all you need to do is find one. Once you find one, then you know they're not compatible. But again, I would agree. It's not idolatry. Yeah, so that makes it better. That for sure makes it better. But to say de facto they hold the Noahide laws, no, I wouldn't go that far. Someone asked, not accepting gifts roots. Should you accept gifts that you were given? Well, the Gemara says that a person should hate getting gifts. Why? Why would it be bad to get gifts? Right? Why would it be bad to get gifts? Um, so simple answer would be that a person takes a gift. It's like they're beholden the other person. They gave him a gift. Not that they feel they have to reciprocate, whatever. Right? But the Gemara says better to hate gifts. Better not to take. But realistically, can a person take? Sure. Is there anything really wrong with it? No. Right? No. It's a different issue. Now, there are people that won't take gifts. They won't take a gift from someone. They base on what the Gemara says. That's better to hate gifts. Maybe. Other people don't want to be beholden to other people. Okay. Right? But you're going to ask me, you're going to pin me down and say, is it a good thing? Is it rude? It depends what it is, right? Obviously, they give you something that's idolatrous, you can't take it. Yeah, but someone gave you a gift. You should take it. That would be considered being rude, right? So, that'd be rude. No reason not to take it. Why? Unless you got a good reason not to take it. But what would be the reason someone wouldn't want to take it? They want to be beholden to others, right? But can a person take? Sure. Is there anything wrong with it? Should a person take every gift? I don't know about that. I don't have to take every gift. I would say if someone went out of the way to give you something, even if you're never going to use it, right? Even if you're probably going to chuck it in the garbage, better take it. You might offend someone. Every last gift, I don't know. Could be gifts you don't have to, certain gifts you wouldn't have to take. But then you run the problem being rude. Someone asks, in most countries, there's only Chabad, right? And if they are not open for conversion, that's tough, you're right. But they don't do conversion. Remember, their goal is to work with Jews who don't know anything about Judaism. That's their goal. Now, if someone comes in, wants to convert, they'll help them. Some will give classes, right? But that's not their focus. Their focus is working with Jews who don't know anything about Judaism, right? So if there's only Chabad, they'll help you. They won't necessarily give classes. They may direct you in the right direction. They could even be sponsoring rabbis, someone who lives there, right? That could vouch for you if they're the only ones there. Plenty of Chabad rabbis have been sponsoring rabbis, so that's a good thing. But you're right, if they're the only one around, and you live out in the middle of nowhere, so you're right. You're right, it's a hard thing. Someone asks, one second, there's a question here. Someone asks, we have to choose first, right? Working towards prize of being part of the community, very good. Is it true that Muslim halal is simply them praying over filthy, non-kosher foods? No, I think halal has to do with different type of ritual slaughter as well, right? But we don't, halal by us, isn't kosher. We won't eat it, right? Ritual slaughter, there are a lot of laws, tremendous amount of laws comes to ritual slaughter. First of all, a person has to learn the laws. Then you have to learn under someone who knows what they're doing, and then you have to do under their supervision, right? So their halal we wouldn't touch. Now our kosher meat they would eat. For them, that's good. For us, halal is not good. We wouldn't eat it. No, it's required to eat kosher and have a kosher kitchen. No. They're definitely not. But some of the process of conversion, they should. And even some of the process of conversion, they're going to have to kosher it anyway after conversion, for sure. For sure, they're going to have to kosher it anyway, because anything they make is going to be non-kosher anyway, right? Therefore, you're going to have to kosher it anyway, but non-Jews absolutely have no obligation. No obligation whatsoever to eat kosher food. They want to, they can, okay. But again, non-kosher food doesn't affect them. We mentioned this many times. Kuyakar says, you see, non-Jews eat all kinds of things, creepy crawly things, and who knows what, that does not affect them. right? Since it doesn't affect them, why would they do it? Why would they keep it? Wouldn't make sense. Absolutely wouldn't make sense, right? Because the whole person, a Jew keeps kosher, so that doesn't affect them negatively, right? It can make them apathetic to Torah, right? It makes them what's the word? Right? It's metamta mesalev, makes their spirit dull, makes them apathetic essentially about keeping Torah mitzvahs. Someone coming back to Torah mitzvahs, a Jew, one of the first things you'll tell them besides keeping Shabbos, keep kosher, get that garbage out of their system so they can hear Torah. But a non-Jew, no obligation. Right? The Kli Yakar goes further and he says a non-Jew would never do anything that's not going to help them, not going to benefit them. For them, eating kosher food is like a placebo. Now, someone in the process of conversion at some point start eating kosher. Some point. If they decide they're going to start keeping kosher the day before they go to the mikveh, they can do that also. 2 hours before the mikveh, can they go to, Wendy's, McDonald's, and, stuff their face all kinds of treif? Yeah. For them, it's not a problem. So my Rabbi, you would tell someone to do that? He said, they're Jewish yet? No. They go to the mikveh yet? No. Right? But plenty of base and say, you're going to convert tomorrow. Very good. Let it rip. Do whatever, go eat whatever you want. This, that. You got one day. Right? But again, doesn't apply to a non-Jew. But if you're in the process of conversion, at some point, you should start keeping kosher. You should work on having a kosher kitchen and know how to run a kosher kitchen. For sure. Doesn't mean the first day you're in the process, you should do it. I mean, over time it should be done. Is it easier, harder, or no difference for a married or unmarried couple to convert? But you ask me an easier question. What's the question here? It depends. Right? Isn't that always the answer? It depends. If a person's married, let's say, and both people go in the same direction, and each one can strengthen the other in difficulties that they have, yeah, that's better. I would say that's better. On the other hand, someone by themselves, they're on their own path. Very good. They're on their own path. So that's huge, right? They don't have anything to interfere. There's nothing to interfere, except their evil inclination, right? If a person in the process of conversion, let's say like this, and we'll make it easy, they're married, yeah, and let's say the other spouse doesn't want to do it or doesn't want to go through with it. Or I had a case like this where they move in the Jewish community, they downsize, kids are in a Jewish school, right? Not so simple that a school allow non-Jewish kids to be in there, before conversion. Some do, some don't. Yeah. And one spouse says something happened, and one spouse said they can't do it. They can't pull the trigger. They can't pull the trigger. And the other spouse says, what do you mean? The kids are in school. There's nothing to go back to. So now they're in trouble. They've been accepted by rabbinical court. I don't know what the time frame is when they're going to convert. I mean, so what happened? What happened? They got divorced. Now, someone will say that shouldn't happen. Okay. But what's the other spouse supposed to do? Now, I would never tell somebody to get divorced because of it. Right? I definitely don't think it's healthy, but if they were going to get divorced anyway, there are other issues, then there are other issues. If there are no other issues, the person will say, this is the most important thing I'll ever do. Right? I've been on this path for so long. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to convert. Right? I know somebody, again, I don't know the story. So again, you can take what I say with a grain of salt, but the story goes, person's very happy they became a Jew. Ecstatic they became a Jew, but they lost their spouse. They felt it was the most important thing to do. They ended up losing their spouse. They regretted it. So I would tell you that, if a person's on that path, there's nothing going to stop them. There are people like that. Nothing's going to stop them, not a spouse, not nothing. Okay. right? It's a price you pay. But you say, well, I can marry someone else, I can marry someone Jewish, someone Orthodox, right? Not saying you can't. The question is that is that considered, and this is a big question, is that considered a situation where a person's going to get punished where they could have converted, they didn't? So I would say no. This is a huge thing, right? Some have been married many years. All of a sudden, they're going to dump their spouse for God. You're going to say, but isn't that the most important thing? Isn't God the most important thing? I mean, marriage is pretty important also. Yeah. Or even without marriage, someone, two non-Jews living together, that's considered marriage according to Noahide laws, right? According to the Torah. That's considered marriage, right? So, what in America, in some states, they would call common law marriage, right? They would call common law marriage. Not every state has it, but, okay. And then when one of them walks out, so that's called divorce. Again, even if it is an extremely important thing, right? It can be. I'm not saying not. It's, a person has this calling, they feel it's inside them, they should convert. Very good. They have to ask themselves, is this more, is my relationship more important? And, and if they deem and decide their relationship is more important, yeah. If their relationship is considered more important, then that's it. They shouldn't convert. Right? There would be an issue. Let's say that person, okay, they don't get divorced. Very good. Yeah. And I've heard this many times also. The other spouse is Christian. Yeah. And I have kids. They want to raise the kids being Christian. You don't. That's a problem. Right? That now I'm not saying it's impossible. An impossible situation, but it's going to be very hard. I know someone's dying to convert. They're in that situation. Exact same situation. Except their wife is Jewish. Their wife is Jewish and a Christian to boot. And she's raising the kid as being a Christian. That's a problem. Now this guy walks out because he wants to convert and he's got Jewish blood, but he can't prove it. Okay. So now what? He walks out. It's going to be harder for that child to want to be Jewish because the mother has more control. And that's an issue. Now again, could it work? Could want to pin me down? It could work. It's going to be hard though. Definitely going to be hard. Two people, different religions. It's confusing for the kid. That's true. That could lead to divorce, sure. That could lead to divorce. Okay, but if they decide, to raise the kids, let's say neutral, at least, or there's a way to work it out. Okay, then I wouldn't get divorced. I know someone that became a Noahide, and his wife's family and his wife just demolished the person all the time. They were big time Bible thumpers and this and that, and they whatever. Person had a hard time, very very hard time. You know what to do. He's trying to convince them, they're not listening, whatever. He's getting ridiculed all the time. That's not good for a marriage. Not good for any marriage. Yeah. So you know what to do. Should he get divorced? He's got a whole bunch of kids and this. And eventually he persevered. He suffered a lot. Persevered, and his wife came around. His wife finally decided to look at the information, realized she was wrong. But that's a very hard situation. Very, very hard situation. So I'd say, it depends. If someone's unmarried and one really wants to convert and the other one doesn't, then you gotta make a choice. You gotta make a choice for the person you're with or God, so to speak. But if you choose the person you love and you can keep the Noahide laws and learn and grow and this and that, even if you don't become a Jew, God's not going to expect you to become a Jew. He's not going to expect that. But if he sees deep down in your heart you could have converted and you didn't, because someone's going to say no one's made to convert anyway, and we're not looking for converts anyway, that is all true. But, you can't worry about that. God will make that ultimate decision. Say, brothers, hey, how do I know? How do I know it's not part of my evil inclination, this and that? It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing, having a spouse, girlfriend, whatever, living together for many years, and this and that, all things being equal, that things are good. It's hard. That's why I tell people, if you're in this process and you're single, don't date for exactly this reason. Because then you fall for somebody. I mean, it could be real, not saying not, could get married, this and that, but they're not going the same path. So that people say, men and women. Some say, well, mostly men. If said, why would I wait? I'm gonna wait 2 years, 3 years? I'm not gonna wait. But then you run into the problem. Who do you meet? So you're setting yourself up for failure. You're playing Russian roulette. So really, the situation, I would say, depends. If a person's single, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. But if a person's married, I would say like this: if a person's married, and they're going in the same path, very good. If they're not going in the same path, then it's going to be problematic. But even if you're not going the same path, remember, no one says you have to convert. No one says you have to go down that path. But a person says, hey, I've been doing this for long, this, that. Right? I've heard people say, and I'm not saying, that they're blowing smoke and they're not real. They've said straight out, if this person's not with me, I'm out. This is the path I'm going on. They're not going to be part of it. They're out. Okay. But I would tell you, and this is if they're married. Yeah. If they're married. Now, if there were other issues besides this, different issue. Even if there are issues, but you would never get divorced otherwise, I wouldn't tell someone to do it. I would not tell someone to do it. I think it's just too detrimental. And like this person said, I was happy I did it. I was very happy I did it, but I paid a price. They paid a price. So yeah, if you're not married, it's easier, but let's ask the $1.5 million question, because now I just upped the ante. Let's say someone's been together with someone for 5 years, 10 years. Yeah. Been together a long time. They're happy together. Why should this ruin it? You're going to say, but I really want to convert. Okay. Doesn't mean, the one you're with has to. And even if they don't, it's gonna be a problem. Right? It's definitely gonna be a problem. So, the problem is people grow in different ways and people come to different conclusions. And this is already well after they're together. Now, for people, if they meet and they go in the same direction and this is where they're going, good. That makes it a lot easier. But if someone comes to it now, I would say like this: what if someone's way ahead of someone else? Whether they're married or not married. Let's say they're way ahead. Okay. Now that doesn't mean the other person's not going to come along. Doesn't necessarily mean that. They just come along at a slower pace. Okay. So you have to keep that in mind. Good. Yeah. So that's not necessarily an issue. But if they say clear out, oh, I'm not going to do this or I'm not going to do that, it doesn't necessarily mean they won't. It just means that, some things, it may be that'll take them longer to get used to. Okay. For some women, what's one of the hardest things to do? Cover their hair. Okay, there are, pretty ways for a woman to cover their hair. Doesn't mean they have to shave their head per se, right? But, if someone were to come into a rabbinical court and say, I'm going to do everything except I'm not keeping kosher, I'm still eating shrimp, they're not going to take you seriously. If it's something you say, it's hard for me. It's happened. Someone came in after my Rabbi gave class once and said that, asked the question, a woman came to him, converted. She didn't know she had to cover her hair. Does that nullify the conversion? So Rabbi said, no, doesn't nullify it because not everyone's supposed to know everything and this and that. And, it's not a rebellion. It's just it's hard for her. Okay. So it doesn't nullify the conversion. So I told him tongue in cheek, I said, well, if she would have been in my class, it's something she would have known. He's like, all right, I get it. So I was like, so after that, I said, no, you don't understand. People have to know this. People have to teach this. This is irresponsible. He goes, all right, I got the point. It's like, I got the point. Yeah, it's something someone should know. But again, it's not immediate. It's going to take a while for someone to convert, someone to get used to the idea, start practicing doing it at some point, so they get used to it. They see themselves covering there. Okay. But if a woman would say, bottom line, I'm never going to do it and it's never going to happen, and it's never going to change, that's going to be a problem. That's not like, oh, it's hard for me. That's like saying I'm going to convert, but I'm going to eat all the shrimp I want afterwards. Not going to happen. I mean, if you're conservative, maybe, or reform, maybe, but if you want to be Orthodox, that ain't going to happen, right? They're not going to ask you to cover your hair either, right? The reform or conservative conversion, they're never going to ask you to cover your hair, right? For a woman to cover her hair, it's never going to happen because they don't believe in it anyway, right? But that'll be an issue. But again, even if the person's not at the same level, that doesn't mean you throw the other person out. It can just take longer, right? It could take longer, but that doesn't mean the person's out. So again, it would depend. Again, I've heard a number of times where women were going to get divorced, usually by women. Women were going to get divorced anyway, so that was it. They were going to get divorced anyway. I had someone tell me that it didn't pan out that way, but they said, I'm doing this, and my husband's with me. Good. If not, this is what I'm doing. It didn't pan out that way, but they were 100% serious. Okay. Listen, I understand it's a very emotional thing, and there are people out there who rather have reform and conservative conversions to say that they're Jewish, even though we don't recognize it. Okay. It's a really emotional thing. Very good, but not everyone should or is obligated to convert. And it's legitimate to say, okay, if the spouse doesn't want to convert, forget about kids, forget about different religions and this and that. If they don't want to convert, that doesn't mean they have to convert, right? It doesn't mean that. They get, it doesn't mean they have to get divorced, or if they're not married, they have to split. It doesn't mean that. But it's a big issue. Yeah, but I've seen some cases where two Jews married, and one spouse becomes religious and the other doesn't. So the whole question: how can you stay married? Or let's say one of the spouse flakes out. You have this phenomenon. Somebody can be religious for, I don't know, so 30 years, 40 years, and they just don't want to do it anymore. But they have kids, so okay, so they have to play the part a little bit, this and that. So what do you do? The end with a woman's a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier because she's going to dictate about going to the mikveh, right? For family purity laws. If it's a guy, and or let's say better, let's say the woman decides to go off, and the husband's still religious, doesn't want to get divorced per se, and she refuses to go to the mikveh. There's the problem. This is a serious problem. Now, I can't necessarily force her, right? He could divorce her because she'd be considered a what we call meredith, a rebellious woman. That doesn't mean she can't repent. But the problem is, once she gets a period, he can't be with her. Even the best of situations. But she refuses to go. So Rabbi Zohar, blessed memory, was a famous Israeli actor, became religious. His wife didn't want to have anything to do with it. And he was like very strong and this and that, and she didn't want to have anything to do with it. So, his Rebbe told him, he asked him, do I have to get divorced? He said, no, not yet. He said, give her time. You got to give her time. And she ended up becoming religious with him. It's an amazing story. I'll just tell one small aspect of it. Anyone wants to read the book? It's called My Friends We've Been Robbed. By I'll bring it out here. One second. So friends. Been robbed. So I'll tell you the story. Let me just put up here on YouTube. Oops. My friends, we have been robbed. So I'll tell you one aspect of the story. It's an amazing story. She didn't want to have anything to do with, being religious, whatever. So they didn't really know what to do. And as Rabbi told them to have patience or whatever. What happened? What flipped the script for her? An amazing story. She one day, I don't know, her husband wasn't around, or was learning, or whatever he was doing. He had a copy on his coffee table or on the table, a copy of the Rambam. Whatever, I don't know, whatever halachas the Rambam was talking about in that book, whatever it was. And she's like, "Oh, let me see what this book says. Let me take a look." And she started reading. Now again, she knew how to read Hebrew, right? But she saw, just like illuminated her soul, because she saw, like, how could a person write this? Like, look at this knowledge, look at the depth, and that made her think and started, learning, and that sparked it from a Rambam, from seeing the greatness of the Rambam. So, a person can be sparked in many different ways. But again, certainly at the outset, you don't say, okay, you're out. I'm going this path, you're out. I wouldn't go that far. You got to see where it goes. I know someone's I'm married to a Christian, they don't have children, right? There are no issues with with children. She goes to church, does her thing, and they don't discuss it. They don't really discuss it. So it's a pretty amazing thing. Think about it. They can live in harmony that way. But if one spouse is going to bring up the kid as a Christian, literally, drag the kid to church and educate them that way, that's going to be a problem. That's, again, if they're just like, they go to church once in a while, this and that, okay, they're not so religious, good. So you can live with that. You don't like it, but you can live with that, fine. And they can live with the way you live, good. But if they start trying to educate, their kids in that way, that's going to be hard for a person to see. Now, even at that point, I would say, you don't have to get divorced. You don't necessarily have to get divorced. It's going to be very uncomfortable, though. Very, very uncomfortable. Somebody asks, okay, that was, I hope I answered that question. It took long enough. How about wigs for hair covering? So I'll tell you, like Rabbi said, that as long as it's modest, not too long, it's fine. There's a difference of opinion between Ashkenazim and Sephardim. According to Sephardic tradition, they'll say that women's hair a wig looks much better than human hair, right? So therefore, it defeats the purpose, and a woman should not cover her hair with a wig. So women who are Sephardic, they'll cover their hair with berets, with scarves, different things. For Ashkenazim, they'll say wigs are permissible, even if they look as good as human hair, but they shouldn't be too long. They should be modest. I remember we brought this out a few weeks ago. It's probably last week, I think, in this Parsha sheet, right? I think it was Parsha sheet spoke about it. But there's a totally different issue. This is an issue whether it's permissible to wear or not, right? That's one thing. Today, there's a different issue. There's an issue that they use human hair, usually comes from India, and human hair from India, it's been worshipped. They use it for idol worship. That's a totally different issue. Now, some people would claim, and it's probably true, that most wigs today that hair comes from there, you can't wear them. It's idolatry. Right? So there are, it depends where you're going to get the wig from. They have to have rabbinic, supervision, right? Basically saying they're not getting hair from there, whatever. A lot of hair comes from, India. Regardless, if that wouldn't be an issue, it is an issue. I'm not saying that. It's an issue. If that would not be an issue, then you have a difference of opinion whether a woman should cover her hair with a wig or not. Yeah. If you're Sephardic, you won't cover your hair with a wig. If you're Ashkenazic, you can, as long as it's modern. Right? There are plenty of big Ashkenazic rabbis, my rabbi included, Moshe Feinstein of blessed memory, Rabbi Yosef of blessed memory, Shlomo Zalman Auerbach of blessed memory. I mean, the Torah giants, real big Torah giants of the generation. And they held it's permissible. They held on, it's permissible as long as it's modest. Can't be too long. Okay. Shoulder length is, past shoulders too long. Right? Let's say. So if they hold that it's permissible, they're not heretics by any stretch. So wearing it is one issue. The idolatry issue is a totally different issue. A totally different issue. And it's still an issue today. But there's a difference of opinion, again, according to Ashkenazim and Sephardim. And not all Sephardim hold that, by the way. A lot do, not all of them do. But Sephardic women will cover their hair, again, with either a beret or a, what do you call it, a scarf or something like that. My Rebbe joined the Eidah Chareidis, probably the most powerful rabbinical court, in Jerusalem. It's like, oh, I bet his daughters, and his wife don't wear wigs. I was like, I bet they do. I love people when they talk, they don't know what they're talking about. Well, I bet they don't. I said, really? I said, well, they do. I know his daughters do. I've seen them. I got proof. I've seen them. So I can say it's not permissible. Human hair wig, I would say, it looks better than human hair. Remember, my Rebbe came out against, was going to come out against wigs. And I was there once, intermediate days of Passover. Two of his sisters were there. So I asked, one of his sisters, I said, Rebbe said, what's going to be? What's going to be? You're going to have to burn that wig, right? She's like, Sonny, there's not one human hair in this mop. It's like, you know what a mop is? She told me in English, grew up in England, yeah? It's like, you know what a mop is? I'm like, yeah, I know what a mop is. It's like, this is synthetic, not one human hair. So good. It's not a human hair wig. You can tell it's synthetic. Good. Right? The whole point is it has to be covered. Now, some people would say, if you have real human hair, it looks better than it certainly looks better than synthetic. True. But it does the purpose, covers the hair. Very good. Right? Very good. Right? But that'll be the argument against it. Okay. But there are plenty of top rabbinic authorities that are Ashkenazic hold it's okay. 100%. Hold it's okay as long as it's modest. The idolatry issue, different issue. Totally different issue. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the fact whether you can wear it or not. That was the question. Question. All right, let's see. Boy, you guys got a lot of questions here. Let's see. Is it advisable to put your life in danger to convert? No. That was easy. Like crossing a border into a country where conversion is permissible. No, I wouldn't say that. If you're crossing the border because your country is a terrorist country and you want to get out of it and whatever, good. Not to convert. You don't put your life in danger. To convert or for anything else. You're not allowed to put your life in danger. You put your life in danger and you die, people think, oh, he's a martyr. No. Famous story, football player, told this story many times. Football player, see people drowning, goes to save them, doesn't know how to swim. He saved, I think, one of them, two of them, but he and another or a few drowned. Everyone thought it was the hero. So he gets upstairs. Imagine if I was playing God here. Put on my funny George Burns glasses, my funny mustache, yeah? Yeah, and this person comes up and he says, God, why didn't you save me? It's like playing a video game. You don't have any extra lives. You don't have any extra lives. I didn't say anything's going to come out of you. Why should I save you? But that's not what we would say. I thought God would say. Right? He might say that in the end, but what would he say at the beginning? He said, did I tell you to jump in? He said, I noticed out of the corner of my eye, right? Even though God doesn't have an eye, right? I noticed the corner of my eye, the Satan, Mr. S, the evil inclination, angel of death, whatever you want to call him, was egging you on. Someone else saved them. You got to be the hero, go jump in, right? You got egged on. You wasn't an evil inclination. You jumped in. Now, you went against Kaufman's 615th commandment. Don't be a moron. I didn't tell you to jump, or the 614th commandment. Don't be stupid. I didn't tell you to jump. You wanted to be the hero. Or it was a cousin or relative, whatever, drowning. I get it. But if you don't know how to swim, you don't jump. You don't jump. So you didn't have to save him. And if he had enough extra lives, now this is the end of the question. If he had enough extra lives and he had Torah to protect him, then he would have given up some of the extra lives, but he would have survived. What about running into a burning building? The building explodes. There are loved ones in there. I get it. You don't have to put yourself in danger. If it's a doubt whether it's a danger, different issue. If it's a full-fledged danger, you're not allowed to. Now, if that would be the general rule, what we just said, how in the world would it be permissible to cross over to a country for the sake of conversion? To risk your life. To risk your life to get out of the country, I get it. People risk their lives to get out of Pakistan. People risk their lives to get out of, to get out of Iran, to get out of, a lot of these rogue places. Okay. Now, some of these people end up converting. Good. Or some of them were Jews. Good. Yeah. But they're not leaving the country. That's not their top priority. They're leaving the country because it's a dangerous place to live. They don't want to raise their kids there. They want to flee because of what's going on. It's dangerous. That's a different issue. That's a totally different issue. But to tell me to leave, for the, risk your life just because you want to convert? No. If the place is a dangerous place, I get it. So you try and get out. Okay. But that has nothing to do with conversion. Right? If that was on a list, top 10 things, why are you going to leave the country? And conversion's like somewhere in the middle, different issue. If that's the only reason you're leaving, it'd be forbidden. 100% be forbidden. You're not allowed to put your life in danger. So to get converted, I need to be a real person after all. Again, what does the person have to do? What does the person have to do? A rabbinical court wants to see, first of all, you move into a Jewish community. Second of all, you have some way to be self-supportive. And third of all, probably the most important of all of these, you have to have good character traits. You have to listen to what the rabbinical court says. So I'll give an example. I had someone converting here, and the rabbinical court said, if we told you had to move to a Jewish community, what would you do? They'd say, whatever the rabbinical court tells me. If they tell us we have to move, we have to move. What if we say, this was before Rosh Hashanah, they say, we're not going to convert you till after the holidays. You have to go through the holidays again as a non-Jew. They said, whatever the rabbinical court says, we're not going anywhere. We are going to convert. You tell us what we have to do, we're going to do it. So I was sitting in the back saying, yeah, that's the right answer. That's what they want to hear. You got to be subservient to what the rabbinical court says. Now, at the end of the day, someone's going to say, I'm going to do what I want. That a friend of mine told me this case, somebody, like that. They want to do certain things. The rabbinical court said, we're not going to convert you. They also wanted to, they wanted to do certain things. Okay. Yeah. But the rabbinical court saying, listen, we're putting our name on this. But they also wanted to see, are they going to listen? Are they going to listen to rabbinic authority? And if they don't listen to rabbinic authority, they want to do whatever they want to do. So you can say, don't people have an evil inclination? Sure. But if they outright defy what the rabbinic court says, that's a problem. And they admit, at least you're going to do that, lie. That's what I would say, lie, right? But if they admit they're going to do it, that's being pretty brazen. Or we'd say chutzpahdik. Tremendously chutzpahdik. You're going to come and dictate to the rabbinical court? We don't need you. We got no problem with Jews. You want to come in, and this person was a rapper. You want to go rap and do all his stuff like he did as a non-Jew. They didn't want that. You want to change your whole style like Nissan Black and this and that. Okay. You want to do it in a different venue. Okay. You want to do it in the same language, same venue? No. We're not, we're putting our name on this. You made me look stupid. Right? And this person was defiant. I'm sure he got a rabbinical court to convert him somewhere. Yeah. I have no doubt. But you got to be subservient to the rabbinical court. They're the ones calling the shots. They're the ones signing off on it. And if you make them look bad and do things wrong, they get the transgression. It's a pretty serious thing. Right? So, I've heard people say, well, you have to watch my YouTube rant on my YouTube channel Beyond Orthodox First in Judaism. Do you think it was going to be this easy? That's someone who, claimed, the kids get up early in the morning, they can't move, and the rabbinical court should help us, and like all this and all that, and it's not fair, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So finally they said, They said, we're doing more things Jewish than most Jews. And look how many gays there are in Tel Aviv, which happens to be probably the gay lesbian, capital of the world right now. God forbid. Yeah. So they're like, look at all the gays in Tel Aviv. I'm like, so what? Like, who cares? Like, that has nothing to do with anything. The fact they're doing that is wrong. The fact they're doing it in Israel is even worse. Yeah. But you want to compare yourself, so you're so much better than that. Okay. What does that have to do with conversion? Make no mistake, someone coming into a rabbinical court, you're not dictating. You absolutely are not dictating. Whatever they tell you to do, that's what you got to do. And hopefully they know what they're doing. They're not going to make a mockery of it, and everything's good. Person coming in with their own conditions, imagine. You want to be a person wants to convert, be a Christian, great. You tell them, you want to baptize me, great. You're not putting any water on me. I'm not going in the bathtub. I ain't going in the ocean. I'm allergic to water. It ain't never going to happen. Now, probably you pay them enough, that probably won't be an issue. Yeah. You're not dictating to them if that's what, quote unquote, the ritual is. Go into a mosque, right? Go into a mosque and say, yeah, I'm not doing this, doing that. Say, oh, you deserve to die anyway. You're coming in with conditions? I've heard this a number of times. People say, the Orthodox make it too hard. Good. Yeah. So what should we take out? What should we take out? Kashrus? Modesty? What should we take out? Tell me what you take out. You want to do that? Be a reformer conservative Jew. They take out everything. Mostly everything. All the good stuff. Right? Read one of their prayer books. I totally chopped up. Totally chopped up. Yeah. So I'd say you have no conditions here. I'm not saying they have to make you jump through hoops and this and that. But they're putting their name on it. So who's coming in with conditions? Yeah. Opinion on Orthodox Christianity. I don't know. It's idolatry. As far as I understand, it's idolatry. The different forms of Christianity. Right? Different forms. Some are not idolaters per se because they don't believe in JC, right? And they wouldn't call it Christianity, call it other things. Okay, so they don't believe in JC. It's better. Right? It's not idolatry. Good. Yeah, but it's not Torah. It's certainly not Torah. Right? I don't think it's close to Torah. So, it's just bad as any other false religion. Oh, that's what I would say. So someone here mentions, I think money would be a problem. Yeah, for a lot of people, that's the major issue I would tell you that I've come across where people wanting to convert is being able to move. That is the number one issue. Family issue is probably number two. Yeah, but moving to a Jewish community, the probably number one issue is money. Yeah. Now, people can move and they have jobs and they can move with it. It's a lot easier. But even moving is hard. Right? Even moving is hard. Let me see. Boy, guys, keep me busy here. Yeah, let me see some other questions here. Someone asks, do all non-Jews automatically have a chiluk in Olam Haba? No. They definitely do not. Most non-Jews, I would say, don't have a portion of the world to come. Because anything they do could be liable for death penalty. I mean, anyway, a number of things by the Noahide law is liable for death penalty. But if they don't repent before they die, who says they should have a portion of the world to come? Right? The Mishnah says all Jews have a portion of the world to come. But you know what? Did you ever read chapter 13 of Sanhedrin on the topic? Plenty of people didn't have a portion of the world to come. Yeah, Doramau, the generation of the flood, didn't have a portion of the world to come. A lot of kings didn't have a portion of the world to come. So someone once told me, he said, oh, so I have a smaller portion. What do you mean you have a smaller portion? Who says you're going to get there? As a secular Jew. That's a great Shabbos, do other things. Why should you have a portion of the world to come? No, it'll just be smaller. What do you mean to be smaller? I could just say you're not going to get there. You die like a dog. You go poof. Yeah, it could happen. It can certainly happen. Even if they don't know anything, it doesn't really matter. They can be liable for death penalty and other things. So who says they're going to get there? Right? But a non-Jew can have a portion of the world to come. Not the same as a Jew. They can have a portion of the world to come. But all non-Jews? No. I'll tell you the truth. The Gemara in Sanhedrin knocks out probably 80% of non-Jews by Noahide laws. What they have to keep. The Rambam, the laws of kings, says anyone who keeps the Noahide laws, right, have to believe that God passed it down to Adam, gave it to Noah, passed it down to Moses, got codified at Mount Sinai. How many Noahides do that? I haven't taken a survey, but that's crucial. To ask my Rabbi, I said 80% of the non-Jews going to get wiped out by the Gemara and Sanhedrin. The other 20% probably get wiped out by what the Rambam says. So how many are going to be left? How many are going to be left? There'll be some left. Not going to say not. There will be. There will be. But not all non-Jews have a portion of the world to come. For them, it's a lot easier not to have a portion. Why would I say? Why I say? Because they're universal. These laws are universal, right? And some of these laws that the person be liable for death penalty, if they don't repent, they're just lacking burial. Yeah, much more severe than Jews in some ways. Some are more severe, some less severe. Right? For Jews, their share can be lost, right? And non-Jews. What are the people that do idolatry? That's most of the known world. Yeah. You got the Hindus, the Buddhists, Christians, right? And if we include the Muslims, which we won't, but let's say, all these other religions, it's idolatry. Who's going to be left? Who's going to be left? Very small percentage. Very small percentage. Whether certain things are liable for death penalty or not, right? If they don't repent, they stay idolaters. What's going to happen to them? Finished. Going to be nothing left of them. They're not going to be, you want to ask me personally, how many non-Jews are going to be left that are going to be no hides? No, I don't think too many. I don't think there'll be too many Jews left either by the end of the day. If you're an Orthodox Jew, you got a good shot to survive. Otherwise, who's going to be left? 90% of world Jewry today, they don't even know the Aleph base. And the most important question they'll ever ask in their lifetime is to put ketchup or mustard on my hot dog. Or relish. Yeah. They're holding nowhere in the world. Now, some people would say, but I'm a big pessimist, some people would say, all the Jews, when the Messiah comes, they're all going to repent. The majority are going to be saved. Okay. Very optimistic way to look at it. I don't think so. I would disagree. You can take what I say with a grain of salt, but I tend to doubt it. For a lot of reasons. So who's going to be left by Jews? Because the Torah says it's going to be a remnant. It's always going to be a remnant of Jews. But if you're not holding by Torah mitzvahs, why would God save you? Why in the world would he save you by the end of days? Yeah. Why would God bring you back a resurrection of the dead? Why? Say, why? Why would he do it? If you're holding somewhere in the world, you're working hard, okay, good. If not, you don't have a chance. Most people wouldn't have a chance. Someone asked Torah says, even if your wife tries to get you to leave Hashem, she's to be put to death. That's a different issue. If you're Jewish, and if you're non-Jewish, she leads you idolatry. She causes you idolatry. Okay. Yeah, she's punished. She's definitely punished. She's not causing you to go to idolatry. What if she's an atheist? What if she's an atheist? She's not bringing you to God, but she's an atheist. She's powerful. She's neutral like Switzerland. But she doesn't affect you. You keep your laws. You do what you do. Is there any issue? She wouldn't come under that category. She wouldn't be, if she's leading you to idolatry and making your life a misery like that, that's a different issue. I would agree. That's a different issue. I wasn't talking about that. If that would be the case, yeah. But if she's doing what she's doing, you're doing what you're doing. That's the question. Can you be married to someone who's raising a kid as an idolater? That's a good question. That is a good question. I would say most likely they're going to end up getting divorced. If that's the case, they're going to end up getting divorced. Because you can't overcome that. It's very hard to overcome. Very, very hard to overcome. When the Torah says you can't marry a non-Jew, they're going to bring the child up for idolatry. He's talking about a Jew, not a non-Jew. It's talking about a Jew. You say, oh, maybe all the more so if a non-Jew would do it. I don't know. It says a Jew. First of all, a non-Jew can marry a non-Jew. That's not a problem. Here we're talking about intermarriage. But what's the main problem of intermarriage? Is that spouse is going to lead the child to idolatry. Going to bring up the child in idolatry. And what if they don't? Intermarriage is still forbidden, 100%. Intermarriage is still forbidden, even if the children do not go into idolatry. Still forbidden. But the main reason is because of idolatry. Yeah. But if she's going to cause him, to sin into other things, yeah, would be a problem. Right? It would be a problem. The question is how far it goes and if he really has to divorce her or not. It depends on the situation. But yeah, practically speaking, right, in this situation, practically speaking, if this child is going to be raised as a Christian, and the spouse, the man wants to convert, he's going to have, it's going to be a lot of problems. It's going to be a lot of problems. Now, even if he doesn't convert, stays a non-Jew, right? Keeps the Noahide laws. So there'll be friction. 100%, there'll be friction. In a certain way, it'd be better to marry a secular Muslim in that sense. But would you have in that case an obligation to get divorced? No, but it'll probably end up that way. I would say probably end up that way. Someone mentions being an Noahide nowadays is also very difficult. Somebody can't convert to Judaism for any reason. Again, being a Noahide is a valid option. It's a valid option. If God wanted everyone to be Jewish, they would be. But a lot of people that don't end up, that stay Noahides, are not because they can't convert. Some are. Some definitely are. But others don't want to convert. Not interested in converting. That's fine. We're not looking for converts. It can be a lonely process. True. Right? But there's probably a good number that wanted to convert that couldn't. Okay. But there are plenty out there that didn't want to convert anyway. People in adultery with no eyes with suspicion. Okay. Yeah. They'll see anyone who's not like them in suspicion, not just no eyes. Right. But anyone in idolatry, they think they're right, just like we think we're right. Right. So I'm not even going to go into I'm not even going into proofs why we think we're right. Right. You can watch my videos on Tanakh Talk on that. Went through that. Chutzpah rapper. When does someone say, Rabbi, if you bail me out of jail, I'll convert? Nice. Yeah. Depends how much it's going to pay afterwards. Yeah. Yeah. Can understudy Torah without practicing the mitzvahs? Why not? They have to practice whatever applies to them. If they don't practice Jewish, things that don't apply to them, then it's not an issue. Right? If they're going to learn and not do anything that applies to them, yeah, that's a problem. Not 100% the problem. Yeah. Any other questions? Somebody asks, will Basin be likely to say a male convert that would be required to be in the synagogue every morning for chakras, for morning prayers? Yes. That was easy. Got to pray 3 times a day. Got to work it out. Now, you'll tell me I got to get to work early. Okay. In the winter is a problem in some states because sunup is late. Sunrise can be like 8 o'clock, 8:15. You're already going to be at work at 9. It's going to be hard. Right? So some people, either may have to pray at work or whatever. It's hard. That's going to be hard. They got to pray at some point. Now, what do you do in the winter? You got, the afternoon services. Sundown is like, 5 o'clock, 5:15. You're still working, whatever. So what do? You got to pray at some point. You do the best of your ability to pray with a minion, no question. Are they going to expect it? Sure, 100%. That's going to be part. It's going to be part of it. So yeah, you got to. If you live in a place, got a lot of different places to pray, and times work out good. A lot of places pray early, just for that, exactly for that reason, so people can get to work. Right, but if you live in a place there's only one place and they daven late or whatever, like they'll probably tell you it's better be go. They'll probably tell you go somewhere else and this and that, but it's it is obligatory. 100%, it is obligatory. And you got to start doing it, as a Jew. So you might as well start practicing as a non-Jew. Somebody asked, I recommend an area in the South. Be a good place to relocate. I would say Atlanta's a good place. Atlanta's got a lot of good things going on there. Florida, you got Fort Lauderdale, you got Miami. Those are two biggest places. There, you got St. Louis, but St. Louis is a small community. I would say it's a small community. Where else in the South? Depends where in the South. You got Houston, you got Dallas. Those are two good communities there. A lot going on in both communities. Where else? You got places, let's say in you got Memphis. Nashville's much smaller. It's a much smaller community, but Memphis is a big community. It's also a big community. It's supposed to be a nice community, but it's not so safe there. Those are the main communities I think in the South. That's what I would say. You're 2 hours north of Dallas, so go to Dallas. Dallas is better, right? Dallas or Houston, probably further from Houston. So Dallas is like an hour from Houston. Dallas is better. You should go to Dallas. What can we say about people afraid of whatever the Christian Bible says? I don't know. Don't believe it. What's to be afraid of? Well, maybe it might be true. I don't know. I don't think I got anything to worry about. Be afraid of it. And if a person is afraid of it, they don't know what to answer. Go to Rabbi Singer's, website. It'll give you plenty of answers to give these people, so they shouldn't be afraid. A person shouldn't be afraid. Again, what are they gonna be afraid of? Say, here, let me show you something. Here, bring me your Bible. And then you rip it to shreds and you burn it. Nothing to be afraid of. Why would you do that? To show them there's nothing in it. It's a false book. I remember someone did this with an Orthodox Jew. It's like, here, just take this book and spit on it. I would never do that. So why are you doing it now? You're spitting on it now. So, no, but the book is holy. He says, where? So why do you tell me it's holy the way you live your life? See, someone who's got the spark inside them, they'll never do it. They'll never do it. Right? I told someone this once. Someone was into married. I said, take him to synagogue. Don't take out the Torah. I said, why? Just take out the Torah. Good. Bring out the Torah, put it on the ark, take it out from the ark, put it on the bima, put it on the lectern. Very good. All right, let's open it. Why are you gonna open it? We're not even reading it. Just open it. Yeah. So you open it up. Say, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to now pick it up, and I want you to throw it on the ground, and I want you to defecate right on it. They're gonna say, you are an absolute lunatic. I say, I know. I call it a lot worse. Yeah. You're an absolute lunatic. I say, great. So why would you do it? Why wouldn't you do it? So what are you talking about? Defecate on the Torah scroll? Throw it on the floor? Rip it to shreds? That's what you would do? How could you possibly do it? You're married to a non-Jew, you're doing the same thing. Same exact thing. They won't think it that way. But they're doing the same thing. It's not holy to you. It doesn't mean anything to you. So if it doesn't mean anything to you, throw it in the ground. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions? Find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Torah portion of the week, even though I'm very behind, Q&As, ethics of our fathers. If you want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN